I'm Sonny Taylor. I'm from North Hull Estate. I grew up there, spent most of my life there. I've only just recently moved away from there. And I'm a professional cruiserweight boxer. Tough one really. Cliche, everyone says like, oh, I watched the Rocky movies growing up and that inspired me to get into the gym. And it kind of is that story really. Boxing was like a big thing in my family. We was always watching it growing up, and my grandma and granddad were always talking about it, like Rocky Marciano, Jack Dempsey, these sort of guys. So like immediately I had this sort of like infatuation with the sport, and I was always curious about it. And my mum said when I turned 10 years old I could join a gym. And she took me down to St Paul's, and the rest is history really. I've been sort of in and out of all the different gyms in the city for as long as I can remember since. So like as for boxing, like I say, I boxed when I was little and then came away from the sport for a few years and started mixing with all different crazy sorts of guys and getting into a lot of trouble, and I ended up doing a lot of community service because of the trouble I was getting into, and I'd done some of it down a boxing club called Lukrembo, which is just off the boulevard. And when I was doing my community service there, I was watching some sparring through the back doors. I was like digging out an allotment in these big planters, and I remember watching some of the sparring and sort of like had an epiphany. I need to get back boxing instead of misbehaving all the time and getting into bother. So I ended up starting training again. I kept getting beat up by all sorts of different guys, and instead of like shying away from it, I took it as a bit of a challenge, like, oh, I'll get fit and I'll get as good as these guys. And then after maybe a year I started doing better than these guys, and I thought, oh, maybe I'm not as bad as I first thought. And then the ball started to roll, and I was having all these different fights with some of the best kids in the country, and I was doing really well. So then got to a stage and decided to turn professional, and that's maybe 4 years ago now. It's hard to say with COVID and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think I've been professional 4 years. It's a tough question to answer really, because everyone says, oh, how do you cope with the nerves and do you have like sleepless nights and stuff like this, and you do really, but I try to stay occupied. I feel like if I'm busy doing things, so like I'm dropping tickets off and I've got physiotherapy sessions and I'll do some pad work and I'll go see people. If my mind's not that I'm not focused on the fight, but if I'm like preoccupied with stuff, I don't really pay it too much mind. But then, just as I'm about to go to sleep on a night, that's when I think, oh, I'm fighting in so many days. Like I think it's 3 days now, and it keeps you up for that little bit longer on the night, and you get them butterfly feelings. But talking to other fighters, it's natural. Nerves are good. If you're a bit anxious, it's how you're supposed to feel. Because if I was too relaxed, I'd maybe be a bit blasé. But I need to be on edge just enough, and I feel like I've got the right balance. I don't get scared as such. Sometimes get worried about underperforming, but I'm confident in my ability. So I don't know. I'm sort of like anxious but excited as well. Like I want to get in there, and as soon as that first bell rings, you sort of snap out of it and you're down to business, you know. So boxing's not, unless you say like Anthony Joshua or one of them sort of very, very top level guys, the money is not amazing. It's not very lucrative, and I was thinking this just today actually. I often ask myself, why am I doing this? And people go for like, you know, for the money and you want to be remembered and this and that, and I'm thinking, well, to be remembered, it's probably only lasts a generation. So there's guys on these walls who are professional boxers, and I've never heard of them, and they're not from that long ago really, and So it's not sort of like for your name to go down forever, and like I say, the money's not great, so it's not for the money. And we're thinking, what do we do it for? And it's just, I think it's because it's something I'm good at. I want to be the best I can possibly be at it, and it's like a sense of achievement. And I feel like if I'm not pushing for something, I'm just staying the same, and that's sort of like, that's what scares me the most. Just been sort of what I would class as average, and I aren't really doing it for anybody else. I'm doing it for selfish reasons. I want to fight for me, and just to prove to myself that I can be as good as the top guys. And if I can't, I'm going to give it my best, and I can be happy with that when it's all said and done. There's nothing really quite like boxing. It's just you and another guy, and surrounded by thousands of people all shouting and screaming, and you're having a fight with each other, and it's like, I don't know, it's real primal for me. Yeah. But I was saying, amongst all the chaos, I found quite a peace to it, because it's like you're taking it down to like bare humanity. Men and women have fought amongst each other for years and years, and well, since time began, and like I was just saying, it's primal. We're almost sort of designed to do it, and it just comes really natural to me. And when I'm in there with the other fighter, it's, I don't know, it's like there's a certain sort of like dance to it. It's bizarre, really bizarre, and I can't explain it how I'm thinking it, but yeah, it just feels so sort of normal, even though it looks chaos and there's so much going on. There's people shouting and screaming, and everyone's drinking beer's going everywhere. The lights are bright, the referee's shouting orders, and the coaches are shouting behind my back. But me and this other guy just know what to do. Like, we're fighting, and you don't have time to think. It's just all becoming like rhythm to it. It's really strange. I've been an expert at making bad decisions in my life. I'm probably going to make a few more moving forward. However, it's all part of the path, and every decision I've made has led me to this point here. And say, if I was to change things I've done in the past, who's to know if it'd make where I am now worse or better? So regrets, maybe, like, you know, I wish I'd never committed this crime, or I wish I'd never been in this place at this time, or. However, I feel like I'm a better man for it, and say if I'd have never got in this fight at that time and been arrested at that time, what's to say I wouldn't have done something worse down the line? However, now I've learned my lessons, and I met some really good people because of it. When I was doing the community service, the supervisors and stuff have helped me in life since then. Like, I've met people who I'll be friends with forever now, and I don't know, regrets maybe yes, maybe no, but it's hard to say. I'd like to think that I'm on the right path now. So. Yeah, Hull is like, opportunities are very scarce, and it's a very gritty place to live, and there's a big divide, you know, on like in the villages in the outskirts of Hull. There's a lot of money in the sort of centre of Hull, and the estates. There's next to no money. There's a lot of people living in poverty. There's a massive drug problems and alcoholism, and there's betting shops everywhere, and there's takeaways on every street, and there's just sort of all these like bumps in the road, essentially, that you've got to come across and get over to succeed in anything. However, I feel like in things like boxing, that gives you the drive. Like, someone once said, like, it's hard to wake up in the morning and do your morning runs in silk pajamas. So it's like, if I was born into a family with loads of money and I had it really good and really easy, would I want to be a boxer? Probably not. I'd just carry on coasting. However, coming from the sort of place I lived in, and with the sort of friends I have, and seeing the things I've seen, it's sort of the drive that I need. It's lit a fire under me. So you know, a lot, if you look at some of the most successful boxers, they come from the sort of worst places. So you know, I sort of owe the city for where I'm at. It's not hindered me as such, but it's definitely given me drive. Simply put, no, there isn't. There's no sort of unless if you're a really good amateur, you win the ABAs, you end up well potentially boxing for GB, and then you go for like the Great Britain pathway, and then there's like natural progression. But for all the boxers, if you like that, aren't good enough, doesn't necessarily mean they won't make world champions, but they just don't fit the Great Britain mould. They're sort of like left by the wayside, and you've got in professional boxing, you've got called like ticket sellers, which are like fighters that can sell a real lot of tickets, really popular guys, and they sort of get looked after a bit better, because they make promoters money. So like if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense, and that's sort of the problem with boxing as a whole. Like it's just there's no sort of pathway, there's no like league. It's not like the Premier League or anything like that. Just because you're really talented doesn't mean that you'll do really well. You've got to be lucrative for both like the managers, promoters, and you know you've got to have a good coach who's like backing you and guiding you right and helping you make the right decisions. And there's a lot of what you call like sharks involved because it's run like a cold-hearted business. You've got these sort of people that are in it just for money, and they don't, even though like we're sort of like gladiators, if you like. It's a blood sport. People die pretty regular in boxing, and they're not thinking about that. They're just thinking about what's lining their pockets. And where that sort of thing gets stamped out is in places like this, like grassroots boxing. If it's from the ground up, done correctly, and the right funding goes to the right places, and the right coaches are in it for the right reasons, and you know you get footfall through the doors, and the lights are staying on, and the doors are staying open. It's sort of a much nicer sport to be in. However, it's a million miles off from that, and without these sort of places, these like sort of family-run boxing clubs and nice atmospheres, it wouldn't be something I'd ever want to be involved in, really. But who knows? Maybe it'll change, maybe it won't. In terms of achievements, the job's not done. But what I feel like I've done good now, maybe in 10 years, I won't even pay any sort of mind. I think getting back in the boxing ring after all the trouble I'd been in, and I'd piled on a load of weight, and I'd lost loads, and I got fit, and I'd knocked the guy out as well, to be fair, and we wasn't expecting that. So I'd say that was like in recent history, my biggest achievement, just getting back in the boxing ring and doing really well. But if I don't know, in the next year, if I won like an English title, British title, then that'd far overwhelm that, and then I don't know, I wanting to start a family and these sort of things, like that'd supersede anything that I'm thinking of right now. But look, it depends on how you measure these things. Every day getting out of bed and just trying to do the best I can, that's an achievement for me. Hopefully things haven't changed that much in here, because I still want to be just as driven. I just want to be a little bit further along the journey. I've got to keep grounded, and I don't want to like, I don't know, try and like overstep my mark. I've got to, I know the trajectory I'm on, and like I was just saying, English title, and I want to be preparing for a British title in the next sort of year. But you know, life throws a lot of curveballs, so who knows? Ultimately, that's where I want to be. But it's not a straight path. I might have to go around the houses for it, but I think, yeah, English, British, why not? There's no rush. examine all options, because it's a hard way to make any sort of money. It's very cutthroat. However, it is the best sport on the planet, and if you're in it for the right reasons, and you're not expecting to make millions and millions, or you're not, you know, and you're expecting a few upsets and things not to go your way all the time, not in terms of like results, but just like bumps in the road, then and you've got that in mind, go for it, because it is I'd be doing nothing else myself. However, some people think it's like off the films, and it's not. It's hard work, but it's very doable. Everyone's got it in them. It's a natural thing to do. But I don't know. I'd maybe try to be better at school. I'd just like to thank everybody for the support, all my sponsors, all the people that come watch me fight, my coach Tommy, my training partner Connor. You know, every day is new and exciting for me, and it's down to the network I've got around me, and you know, I'm forever grateful.
Fab, thank
you. Cheers.
Thanks.